So now we have a short discussion with the amazing Mirna Arif, the General Manager of Microsoft Egypt, and our very own Associate Director, Lina Zalat, taking the stage to talk about enabling scalable startups. Please give them a hand.
Hi Mirna.
Hello, Lina.
Hi, ازيك عاملة ايه? We're very happy to have you today with us.
Thank
and
you.
let me introduce you سريعا and then we can go into our discussion.
Please.
So Mirna is the general manager of Microsoft Egypt. You oversee the Microsoft's effort in leading the digital transformation in Egypt, and you bring more than 20 years of experience with multinational organizations and public entities across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And prior to joining Microsoft, Mirna spent several years in important roles for organizations including Schlumberger, the Ministry of Petroleum, Emerson, and General Electric. Mirna is also an AUCian. She studied both her Bachelor of Science and her MBA here at AUC. So welcome back on campus, yeah, Mirna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Mirna, today we want to discuss to have a very casual chat about the role that corporates play in enabling startups to scale. Let's get started with your perspective about what's happening right now in the scene in that space, and let us get to know what you see.
Sure. Thank you, Alina. Good evening, everyone. زي ما لينا قالت, it feels home. I'm an AUCian, so, and this is really home. This is actually where I studied, so it's a bit of a blast from the past. I want to start طبعا by thanking VLab for the amazing event. And thanking all the startups that were just giving their demo moments ago. You've inspired us, and you never cease to inspire us. And I think this takes me to where we are today. You will all agree with me that technology has truly changed every facet of how we work, how we live, how we learn, how we even socialize. And today, market-making companies are able to differentiate because of their usage of technology, because they're leveraging advanced technologies in their innovative solution. And you will all agree with me as well that with the accelerated usage and adoption of cloud computing, the advent of emerging technologies like AI and machine learning, with our 24/7 connected lives, startups are truly leading the way in how we need to rethink and reimagine how we're bringing products and services to market. They're doing that by really disrupting entire industries and creating new employability opportunities. And if you look at some of the research that has been done, you'll find that SMEs and startups actually contribute about 90% of businesses and 50% of employment globally. And the formal SMEs and startup represent 40% of the GDP of emerging market. And that already is a very significant number. But if we add the informal sector to that, that number would increase even more. So it's no secret that a lot of governments and countries in Middle East and in Africa are really shifting their focus to startups and entrepreneurs. They are looking at them as key enabler for them to achieve their goals in diversifying their economy and maintaining actually sustainable development and growth. And Egypt is no exception. So in Egypt, we are one of the 4 main startup hubs in Africa, along with South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. But we are the fastest growing. So both in terms of number of equity deals and also in terms of year-over-year growth. So if I focus on Egypt in particular, I think today we have something like 562 tech startups, last time I checked, and they're contributing to around 13,000 employees combined. So they're already driving significant impact in the country. And if you look at Egypt Vision 2030, you'll see that digital transformation and innovation really sits at the heart of the vision. And it is driven by the digital transformation strategy adopted by the Ministry of Information, Technology and Communication called Digital Egypt. That vision has three main pillars. First and foremost, of course, is delivering digital transformation across the key sectors of the government. Secondly, is building the capacity and training our youth to empower them and provide them with the skills they need to land the digital jobs of the future. But third, which is one of the most important pillars of that strategy, is to drive digital innovation and creativity. And that's where startups and entrepreneurs come in.
Thank you so much, Mirna. طب دلوقتي we have so many startups in the room. And the question is, what does it take for a tech startup to find its way back in this corporate-led market and to start scaling?
That's a very good question, and I'll say two words: the intelligent cloud. And actually, let's maybe we should go a little bit back to basics. So for any startup, if you really want to start your scale-up journey, you need to look at three things. One is access to technology. Two is access to funding, and three is access to market. And actually, I'll add a fourth, which is access to talents. So let's take them one by one. The first one. Access to technology, and again, I'll go to my two words, intelligent cloud. Today, cloud computing and the intelligent cloud is a true enabler for the scale-up journey and the innovation journey of startup. Not just because it's providing the necessary infrastructure in terms of storage and computing power, etc., but it's also really giving them the flexibility and the scalability, the developer extensibility, and above all, the security, actually, that you need across all platforms, applications, and across the environment. So that's number one. Number two is access to funding. And probably most of the entrepreneurs and startups in the room, they will agree that today we have an abundance of funding. I mean, I don't think that access to funding, as important as it is, would be the thing that is really keeping startups awake at night. Having said that, it is still foundational to a successful scale-up journey. You need to understand where is your funding coming from, what are the different types of or different sources of funding, and what do they entail. The third pillar is access to market. And in my opinion, that's critical to any startup scale-up journey. This is where you open up new markets, whether regionally or globally. And this is where corporates like Microsoft will play a tremendous role. And I can explain about this a bit later as well. And then we come to the fourth pillar that is equally as important. And I think you will also all agree that the most important asset of any organization of any size is its employees. You need to make sure that you have the right people that will help you scale and grow, that will sustain, develop your product, sustain the product, sell the product, deploy your product with your different customers. So these are the four key pillars: access to technology, access to fund, access to market, and access to talent.
Reflecting back on the access to market point that you just mentioned, دلوقتي we have two sides. Corporates always see a risk and an opportunity for working with startups, but they also have a lot of resources that they can offer to the startups. On the other side, entrepreneurs have a lot of agility and a lot of innovation to offer for these corporates. Where do these points meet, our two sides meet? And what are the opportunities out there, maybe also reflecting on Microsoft's work with the startups?
So, as I was talking earlier, startups and SMEs are the lifeblood of our economy. If we want to grow and sustain, then we need to empower entrepreneurs and startups. And this is applicable to corporate companies. And I'll speak about Microsoft in particular. So we work across the four pillars I mentioned actually with startups. So we launched recently something that we called Founders Hub. This is a self-service portal or hub for all startups and entrepreneurs. You can register. Of course, there are different qualification criteria. And this gives you first access to technology, so generous credits for our Azure Cloud platform and other Microsoft solution. But it also gives you access to mentorship programs, skilling, content, and other business support. We've also done on the second pillar, which is access to funding, because again, we believe it's still important, a lot of partnerships and industry alliances with different accelerators and different VC investors to support the startups that we work with get the right access to funding. And then comes the most important point, as I was saying, Lina, the access to market. And that's where Microsoft truly has a unique business value, I would say, to startups. The way Microsoft operates is we work through partners. So we have a very big partner ecosystem, and we look at startups as the feeding funnel to our partner ecosystem, really. So what we do for the startups that qualify and go through the process, and we work with them closely, is we open business opportunities with our own customers, whether regionally or globally, basically removing a lot of the entry barriers, giving you go-to-market plans. And this is happening through a lot of our co-sell programs. So we have very sophisticated co-sell programs where our own Microsoft teams would sell with the startups, and they go together to answer a particular solution or a product to the customer. And we have a lot of success stories in Egypt in very sophisticated, I would say, digital transformation project. On the final pillar, which is access to talent, again, this is through Founders Hub. Through a lot of the mentorship programs, we provide a lot of assistance on which type of talents to hire, where to source them. And this is, again, feeds from a lot of the skilling and capacity building initiatives that we do across the countries and the countries we operate in.
That's amazing, because one of the pains that we always find with startups is actually the access to talent. So this is great to know. Let me reflect again on the access to market part. If we have startups here who want to work with Microsoft to access the market part, do you work with certain startups? Do you have specific criteria, maybe stage-wise, sector-wise, and so on?
So no, there is no criteria on stage or sector. I mean, we work mostly with B2B startups, obviously, and the startups that we work with must have a software-based product or service, so they need to be in tech, regardless of the sector, and regardless of the stage. So we work from pre-seed to seed to Series A to C or equivalent. We support across the board.
And what are the channels? Yani, if some startup is interested to do that, where should they go?
Founders Hub is the way to go. Okay. That's always the starting point.
Okay, very good to know. I think this was very insightful, Mirna. Thank you so much. Do you have any final remarks to give?
I think, again, as I said, startups are the lifeblood of our economy. You are the change makers and the disruptors our country needs. So we're here to back you up and keep on going. And thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.